I don't know. It seems to me that the male loneliness crisis is really about where the hell is dad? Where's dad? It's a deadbeat dad consequence crisis. And you know who's coming for your boys? This guy. And guys like him. I know you don't know who he is yet, but they're getting radicalized into religion. This story about all these church dudes, if your sons are not going for the Andrew Tate stuff, or Scott Galloway, who's just like Andrew Tate, but on major publications, and it goes on CNN instead of talking to women about men and what's wrong with them. Yeah, let's ask this bald, arrogant prick who doesn't know anything. The rest of them are going to this guy and his little friends. That's right. The boys are lonely. The men are lonely. The teenage boys are lonely. They don't know what to do, and they go, bring, help. And the church is like, hello, I've got a solution for you. Tradwife, yes. And they show them how to be men by getting a job and paying bills. And in that message of grow the fork up and take care of yourself, they also teach them that they should be the head of the household and women need to know their place, blah, blah, blah. So they're going to church now. They're going to church now, y'all. This article is terrifying. If you have a boy, he is getting radicalized right now. I promise you. Maybe just a little bit or a whole lot, but you need to be very active because I promise you this child is going to hate you if you're a woman. Even if you're doing everything for him and he's gonna hate you. He's gonna hate you. And you know what the common denominator of all the boys going to church? No dad. And by that, I don't mean a dad not in the home. I mean no dad. And believe me, I've talked about toxic boy moms plenty, okay? Moms a lot of times are treating their boys very differently than their girls, like a little prince, and they don't teach them these stuff. But dad, where's dad? Even if dad's in the home, he is checked out. He's out in his little man cave, tinkering with his little toys that cost $10,000 each, while mom is in there parenting, but he's just watching dad either not be there, being lazy and entitled, or just running away from the family. But all dad's doing is working. And this boy is like, I don't know, I don't even want to do that because all the girls are outpacing. So where do I go to find purpose? Church! God, y'all. And you know what drives me crazy about this article that's pretty long and goes into a lot of detail? Even the word choice. More than once, they talk about single moms. Not where the hell is dad, but single moms. And whenever they talk about single moms, what they are not saying is dad abandoned the family. That's what they will not talk about. And so single moms are being blamed and have been blamed for a while for all the problems in society, but especially these lost boys. Well, they're gonna find a daddy one way or another. Either it's going to be online or it's going to be in the military. Uncle Sam, yeah, he'll really, he'll beat him up, bully him, make a man out of him, and then he can go die for his, surrogate daddy. Or it's going to be one of their friends who, is a little too arrogant and cocky, and he's going to follow that dude. These lost boys who are not working, maybe are working, but like whatever, they're lost. If men who are, on the healthier end, if you don't come get these guys, you are responsible for this. I don't care if they're your sons. There are so many men radicalizing these men into the alt-right. And if you are not on that trajectory and you are a man, you are responsible for pulling them back because they're not going to listen to me. And they don't have dads that are active. They don't have role models other than Tate, Galloway, and church dudes. So until y'all start saving these boys, volunteering in your community, doing something, we're screwed. And that violence is going to come for you. Right now, it's mostly at us, but it's coming for you too. I hope I'm making you feel guilty because maybe that'll make you do something. And before I get into this, women, if you are letting these boys stay with you, well, if they're your sons or if they're your brothers or if they're like, if you've got men that you are letting stay with you and take so much of your free labor and you are not physically trapped with that man and don't have to be doing any of this, and you don't do the same for women in your life, you are also feeding into this. You're screwing all of us. They're not going to work if they don't have to. Why would they? Why would they if they got a woman who's going to do all this? But this main video is about the church is coming for your boys. In this article, they talk about the church is more important to the teenage boys than even their parents aren't going to church and the boys are going to church. They're desperate for a dad or some man who is going to call them on their stuff and show them how to take care of themselves, unless the women in their lives are teaching them this. And a lot of women are missing the mark because we've been conditioned to treat these boys different. Single moms are not creating these boys, these incels. It is deadbeat, absent, selfish dads in the home or the ones who literally aren't there. And now the church is exploiting this huge opportunity to recruit. But I think Cecilia Regina's the one who said, good luck. Good luck running churches without women who usually put most of the free labor in that. But still. And it's not just that one dude I showed the picture of. There's men in this church that are like, ooh, perfect opportunity. This one guy, 35-year-old, look what he said. He sees his mission as teaching these boys to be men of faith. But first, he says, he must teach them how to be men. He shows them how to change a tire, shave, and start a savings account. He also helps them become, as he says, the leader of their households. See, a lot of boys are not taught how to take care of themselves, how to wash their clothes, do anything. These guys are coming in and they're like, I'll teach you how to do all that so that you can be the bully of a woman in your home, so that you can have the keys to your kingdom. God, Jesus, husband, wife, children, everybody else, right? We know that's their little order. So he's going to teach these boys how to take care of themselves so that they can subjugate women and their children. God designed men with an innate desire to be a provider, even if that's just providing for themselves and being productive. And I don't disagree with the provide for yourselves and be productive, because what we have now is a learned helplessness, male audacity. I don't want to be a person by going to school or doing anything women do. And so they're doing nothing, which they cannot do if women aren't taking care of them. So I beg of you, please stop enabling these boys and men to live at home on your free labor, right? They will never get jobs and they will never launch because they got mom doing it for them. And so a lot of these boys won't take care of themselves and are not productive at all. And this guy is like, I'll teach you all that so you can be ahead of your household. So when they're not fulfilling that, they do feel lost. And boy, do they. Although it's nothing new. We've had incels for forever. There's always lost boys. You remember in the 80s, that was one of my favorite movies, The Lost Boy. Remember all those boys, those teenage boys, Kiefer Sutherland and them? They're so bored, they're out just becoming vampires and unaliving people for sport because they got nothing better to do. And they have no one who cared about them, I guess. I wanted to be the woman in that group so bad. Now I'm like, oh my God. Who wants to be the Smurfette? So it goes into talking about how young American men are struggling. They're falling behind in school, floundering in the workforce, and simply failing to launch. And literally, Bourbon Bougie's talked about this a lot. Go follow her if you're not already. I'm sure you are. That a lot of these guys don't have a job, don't have education, aren't pursuing any of that, and they actually could. I'm not talking about accessibility. I'm not talking about can't find a job. A lot of these boys and men, these teenage or like 18, 17, 18, 19-year-old boys, they don't want to work. And a lot of these boys and men are not looking for jobs. Why would they if they've got some bitch at home who's going to pay all that? And he's going to teach them a reason to get up in the morning. Look at this. Churches like Life Tabernacle have stepped into the void with the new messaging and programming to appeal directly to young men. They're part of a wider movement to restore traditional gender roles. This nostalgia for a time when men were heads of the household, women were homemakers, and everyone supposedly knew their places in backlash to liberal social mores, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Because it's not just women's rights, gay rights, transgender rights. They're all like, nah, none of it. No. We're lost. We don't know what to do without it. Like, if we can't oppress women in every possible way and hold them hostage in our homes the way grandma was a hostage. Most of your grandmothers were hostages. If you can't leave, are you choosing to stay, really? If you can't consent, are you choosing to fork him? That's what they want to go back to. And this whole, like, the, divine feminine, it's not that I don't believe in energies and all that stuff, but I swear to God, I don't trust anything that's like, lean into your feminine, because all roads are leading to this. They're all leading to this, y'all. They're all leading to, hey, you can stay at home. You can stay at home. I'll take care of all the bills so you don't have to work. As if you're not doing enough jobs that would cost $500,000 a year to pay someone to do those, right? And so women are like, yeah, for capitalism, I don't want to participate. I want a man to just take care of me. But the days of men taking care of women were because they denied us access to home ownership, credit cards, abortion, all the things that we have only had for a very short period of time. So no thank you. If you're going to let someone stay home, you better pay her. Put that money in her own account so that she doesn't have to run everything through you. Also, the tradwife stuff is totally rooted in white supremacy. It is farce. It has never happened. They never existed. And when they did exist on any level, it was a very short period of time. And also it was an exploitation of Black domestic laborers, Black women in the home. And there's a whole other thing on that. But this whole thing, it's all a lie. They literally just want us to not be able to leave them, not be able to abort, not be able to make our own money. And they don't know what to do. So they're going here. And the church is they're exploiting this moment, and it's going to get worse. And yet they're smart because this is actually what's happening. They're not wrong about the problem, but their solution is terrifying. Many young men feel their lives are lacking in structure, purpose, and connection. Yeah, because patriarchy has taught them to be self-sufficient, but they're not. They're not self-sufficient, but independent, self-sufficient, but they're not. It's all by exploiting women's labor, emotional, invisible, cognitive, everything. So they don't have friends. And if you're new here, I wrote that article about Harper's Bazaar, Men Have No Friends and Women Bear the Burden. And I addressed that aspect of this. They don't have friends. They're not in the community. They don't know how to, like, real friendship. I'm not talking about the dudes they go drinking with or hunting with or climbing with or whatever the hell they're doing. And then they don't want to compete with women because we're beating them at the things they used to be only have to compete with each other for. So they're lost. And the church is going to fill in all of this for them so that we get this much closer to white Christian nationalism in the U.S. every day. Look at this dude. He's president of the non-binary. Turns out that churches have 2,000 years of providing those things. Yeah, and also a lot of schmegula violence and has been indoctrinated. I mean, whatever. If you're in church, that's fine. I know plenty of people who are very progressive and are part of the church, but they have to kind of do it their own way a little bit because God is a man. Mary was impregnated against her will by God, so she's pure forever, but had a child. Oh, pure, whatever. Ugh. These efforts appear to be paying off. Women in the U.S. have long been more religious than men, but lately the gender gap in religious affiliations has narrowed. Surveys show that women are leaving the pews. Good job, ladies. Partly in response to the church's handling of scandals and are increasingly suspicious of these institutions that have brainwashed into trusting that some dude in the pulpit is wiser than any of us, and is almost always a man. And as somebody who had, my best friend Scott at church, who was in his 30s when I was a child, these environments are full of men preying on children. Is it any wonder women are like, I don't know, I don't really like this place, I don't like their messaging, and men are like, yes, I found my home. Look at this. Among younger Americans, men are more religious than women for the first time in modern history. Uh-oh, y'all, we're screwed. Don't go to church looking for men, because this is what they're doing to them. For Americans aged 18 to 29, back in 2024, 64% were men, 60% women. A decade ago, it was 65% men, 71% women. And also, I'd like to add that in the U.S., there's no third spaces that you don't have to pay money for. There's just it is not built. Church, I grew up in the buckle of the Bible Belt. That's what Nashville is known for. The churches are the biggest buildings I've ever seen in my life. The crosses are terrifying. Like, there's so many churches. There's so many churches, and then they keep building bigger ones. So if women are leaving the church, they got to keep those seats filled. So they're going after the men and boys. The uptick of men coming into church is with men are having more questions than answers about how to have a meaningful life or just get through the day. And we're going to see more of this as they're losing, the ones who do have jobs are losing their jobs because AI. Please stop using AI. Please stop using AI unless you absolutely have to. You're not going to have water to drink soon, by the way. If we keep this up, the data centers, look it up. But as the economy, with everything that this administration is doing to jobs and any kind of, what little security anybody had. So we're going to have more of these lost boys, lost men. No women are going to date them. And they're going to go to church. We're trying to impart guidance on a generation that's hungry for that. Meaningful life, don't have jobs, don't know what to do. At least they have community here. A community that tells them their purpose in life is to dominate women and children. The next section, good women and worthless men. Now, some might point to my content being like, see, all of these misandrists online are like, men are what? Yeah, they are. They're not worthless inherently, but their actions are making them worthless. They could fix that. But that would mean questioning these systems that give them power. So they'd rather keep their power and blame us than do anything to change and adapt and evolve. Look at this. This one church has a 41-acre campus that has a pond and 4 baseball diamonds. Oh, perfect. A workshop and a cafe that provides job training. If only they had this, but it wasn't affiliated with hating women. The head pastor, Tony here, 47-year-old, he's really doing some help, y'all. And he's immaculately dressed in a tailored suit and tie, slick back hair. That's the guy I showed you earlier. These lost boys are going to go to this daddy. Since their own daddies don't pay any attention to them, didn't guide them, didn't teach them anything other than maybe how to add endless work onto the woman in the household, or how to, ignore anyone who loves you. Look at this. There are so many good women with a home and a car. And you have all these worthless men who are just bums, he said. Oh my God. Did you take this from my content? It's like, this is what's hilarious. It's like a lot of the things they're saying here. It's like, yeah, but their solution? No. It's time to cut grass. It's time to learn how to change a battery on a car. He preaches against idleness and spends his downtime fixing broken cars and lawn equipment. Oh, we love a man who likes to, be useful and helpful rather than a parasite on all the women in his life. So this is all very appealing until you find out that this root of the message, after they teach you all this, is you're the king of the castle. He says the church began doubling down on its efforts to recruit It's a cult. And retain young men in 2020. Exploited the pandemic. Oh, sorry, this is a woman saying. Countrywide crisis of masculinity. This crisis of masculinity. We are losing the strength and power of the man in the household. Oh my God. They're just saying it out loud, y'all. She noticed that many boys in the area were growing up with few life skills or role models and often without a father at home. Bang, 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 bang. This is why we targeted teen boys. You know who else targets children who don't have a father in the home? PDFs. We know this. So the church is just churching. You know what I mean? If you're a single mom, first of all respect. Was raised by a single mom. Would have been a different person had my dad been in the home. I love single moms. I will ride for single moms till I die. Please be aware of these people. They're coming for your boys. Look at this dude. The pandemic reinforced. Oh, and by the way, great. We got women. So see, they have some women in the church because women were really good at reading the room, you know. And she nailed it, man. God, pick-me's. I'm telling you, pick-me's are just as dangerous as men because they enable. They are like the disciples of men, you know? They carry the message of men and are like, okay, I'll go do the dirty work and bring them to you. So then you can radicalize them so they'll want to like women who don't do what they want. The pandemic reinforces the church's sense of urgency. As the congregation lost quite a few local boys to, look at this, they're exploiting this. And also, they saw that the boys were having the most trouble bouncing back after quarantine, right? And, you know, even in adult relationships, you know, I think I've told y'all that when Anthony and I were in quarantine together, literally police enforced could not leave our house except to go exercise for 1 hour a day and had to be within 1 kilometer and had permission slips to go to get groceries. You know, like, that is when I was like, by the way, you and I will never work out if you don't have more friends because I'm over here doing karaoke on Zoom. You know, I'm doing all this. I'm on the phone. I'm staying connected to all my friends. What are you doing? And he was connecting, but not enough. So he worked on that. Now, he had situations, you know, he had just moved back to Lyon. He'd been abroad for a long time. It is so hard to make friends, y'all. Okay, it's hard. But I was like, yeah, I know. But I'm making friends in this country and I don't even speak the language. So if you want to be with me, he even said that I was actually like more diplomatic, that I don't see myself with someone who doesn't have friends. And he was like, oh, he started a men's group 2 weeks later. And then another one right after that. Two men's groups. When they're used to being reclusive, by reclusive, watching TV or playing games or doing some crap. Wasting time. They're time wasters. Men are the biggest time wasters. It's hard to get them to look you in the eye and connect. Yeah. And again, this happens to humans in general. Like, this was not easy for women either. Okay? But at least we have been taught to do this way more than most men. Tony felt so strongly about the toll of quarantine on young people that he broke, forgot about this part. He broke state laws by continuing to hold services during the lockdowns. Oh, God. He rose to national attention, and the state charged him with several crimes, including allegedly backing up towards a protester with a bus. Oh, great. This is the leader of these boys. Anti-vax, probably anti-mask, clearly. And you know what? Violent towards protesters. Awesome. Protesters of what? 2020 protesters. What was happening in 2020 where there was a lot of protests going on? That to me right there says he's super racist, especially anti-black. That's exactly what that is. I just put those two together. Because and then 2 years later, the charges were dismissed. Shocker that Louisiana Supreme Court would do that. And that they ruled that the state's pandemic restrictions had violated his religious rights. What about the backing up a bus into protesters, though? Like, what other crimes? I now want to, find out, but I don't want to Focus, Melanie. So Life Tabernacle, which grew during the pandemic, now has as many young men attending regularly as it does young women. A marked change from just a few years ago. Tony says that other church leaders are now coming to him to learn how to replicate the success of manipulating and preying on boys so that you can get them at your church to exploit the hell out of them. And then maybe they can just go unalive a bunch of women when we say no to them. We gave them something they couldn't find anywhere else. Hope. This is why, again, there are very few men who follow me, but if you're following me and you are not looking for ways to change the world and help save these men and boys with a message of hope, instead of pandering to women online by being like, yeah, man. No, talk to the men and do it with hope, but not your hope twisted into hating us and hope in maintaining power. Do things that a man should do. They are so exploiting this, y'all. They are exploiting the lonely loser crisis. 50 school buses every Sunday morning to pick up 1,250 worshipers, including many teenagers who attend church without their parents. That terrifies me, y'all. At what point do children go to church because they want to versus where their parents are making them? Y'all, I had to get kicked off of choir tour for my mom to make me let me not have to go to church. I had to go to church. I had no choice. And then I embarrassed her so much by getting in trouble on choir tour. Yes, we went on tour in the choir. And now I'm in a gospel choir, which is awesome. But yeah, I was in a choir before, singing for old people and stuff. And yeah, it made me feel good and everything. And it was fun, but I got in trouble, kicked off, and then I didn't have to go anymore. But this is scary. Teenagers are going to church without their parents. Oh my God. Not just any church, not a healthy one. A misogynistic, we hate women, let's make them tradwife crap. Because many congregants don't have cars. So Tony, this douche, began bussing them in. Look at that. And his little pinstripe suit. He's driving to Bud. Then here we go. Baton Rouge has long struggled with high rates of poverty and violent crime, and many teen congregants are being raised by single mothers. Could you finish that sentence, Wall Street Journal? Could you just say, because their dads left? Because their dads are deadbeats? Cheated, abandoned the family. There's no mention of dad here. I am so tired of this conversation around single moms that don't mention the father at all. So then they interview a couple of people who are like members of this. This guy has been there for 13 years. Oh, great. Recruited him when he was 15. 28 now. Most of the boys he grew up with or in low income housing projects are in jail, struggling with addiction, or dead. I hate that this is your suicide, violence, addiction, struggling with drugs, dead, jail, or this other place where they can learn how to be productive and learn how to take care of themselves. And most importantly, hate and exploit and subjugate women and children. Those are not our only two options, but right now, this is what the only options they see. Get busy. Men, do something. This guy, who they just wasn't interested in religion, the promise of a hot meal. Oh my God, y'all, this is going to get bad. They're going to exploit how bad the economy is, even more than they'll ever have. And new clothes to replace his single pair of too small jeans. That's what got him on that church bus. They're smart, y'all. Sermons on how men should be the leaders of the household, lessons in practical skills, and connections to job opportunities kept him coming back each week. Notice that one of the main things keeping him coming back, though, besides these basic human needs, the promise of being a leader of the house. Men are terrible leaders, y'all. I hate that this is what they think. Nobody is really taking the time to encourage young men to work and do things a man should do. Yeah, I'd agree with that statement. So what do? The members of the church apprentice them out of high school, teach them skills so that then they can get jobs and make money. And the price for that is indoctrination into a misogynistic white supremacist cult. Because now this dude, he has enough money to own a home. Awesome. To keep a woman and children hostage in. Great. Men that don't find a purpose in life, it leads to unaliving themselves and severe depression. I would agree with that. But it's not just men. I think everybody wants a purpose. See, the thing is, though, I've talked about this before, y'all. I have never met, maybe it's the crowd I hang out with. Whenever a woman is on unemployment, she may be depressed. Because I was during the writer's strike in 2008 in New York, I couldn't get work. I was unemployed and I was so miserable. But guess what I did? I started a travel blog. I went to the gym every day. I kept routine as much as possible, and it was a very hard moment for me. But women, we are taught that we can never stop. Right? Like if we're unemployed, we find work. And that we do it too much. We don't know how to rest. And then of course, the more you've been burdened with work, according to what intersection, right? You know, because I know that as a white woman, I'm going to have way more entitlement and way more free time and way more, like the mindset of whiteness is all about entitlement and privilege, right? So I'm going to have an easier time resting than, say, a black woman in the United States who's been exploited and worked to death from the beginning of our history. But at the same time, women, other than maybe super rich ones, like we don't ever not work. Even rich women are doing like social kind of stuff. They're planning parties. They're always doing stuff. They're managing men. That's it. And as Rose Hackman, where's the book? I don't know if I have it on me. Emotional Labor by Rose Hackman. I've had her on a live on my Patreon. By the way, follow my Patreon if you can, because that's how I pay my bills. And I have live coming up on the 10th and a watch party on Sunday and all kinds of cool stuff and travel. But I had Rose on my live, and she goes into care and the care economy, and and how it and how it's rooted in patriarchy and white supremacy and all of that stuff. And she has a historical approach to that, and how women are man managers. Okay, we manage everybody, but we have to manage men. Even if you don't date them and are not attracted to them, you got to manage your dad or your brother or the male coworkers or the stranger who forces you to smile. Yeah, so we are man managers. Men don't have to manage us. So when they're unemployed and they don't have anything that makes them feel useful, they are a nightmare. God, unemployed men are the biggest nightmare. That is when you are most likely to get abused. That is, I am telling you, like, I will never shut up about unemployed men. And I mean unemployed men who could work. And they got women who are writing their resumes and pushing them out there. Come on. And they won't. They don't want to. They will not work as long as they possibly can because they're, depressed or whatever. And because women will always take care of them. They will always find a woman to take care of them. Women don't have that luxury. Researchers say that the churches like this one are getting more effective at appealing to disaffected young men. They are offering a vision of society that restores their lost status. Lost? Their lost status? You mean women having more rights? God, that is a really weird word choice. That completely ignores that losing their status is a direct result of not oppressing us and holding us hostage. God, I hate the way they write this. Their lost status as the most powerful, violent people who can do whatever they want. Maybe not out in the world, but in their home. They may be exploited by their boss and all the men out there, but in their home, their status is being able to do whatever they want, including raping their own wife and even children and getting away with it. But lost status. Oh, fork you, God. Where men are occupying their rightful role as leaders in society, business, and family. You know what? Fork you, Paul. Fuck you, Paul. And what's sick is that Paul has a mom. God, it gets worse. Look at this. Paul notes that the Me Too movement, that stupid movement, and the sudden rise in concerns about the toxic masculinity God, dumb bitches are worried about everything. Gave churches an opening as a place where men could be. Okay. Bruh, why, Paul? Why would you say? I mean, I get it, but like, he's literally being like, hey, Me Too created a moment where all the men who are afraid of getting Me Too'd, we got open doors for y'all. Come on in. We already have enough predators. We got a long track record of PDFs. This is where you want to come. God. And then, of course, they went in. They realized the guys aren't going to come there if they're not going to get something out of it. They're like, God, whatever. Give me a meal. Give me skills so I can get a job. So I can go buy one of these burgers. As a result, young men are now attending religious services more often than their older and female peers. They're also involved in 50% more church group activities. Yeah. Because they're lonely. They don't have friends. So that, God. This is brilliant, y'all. This is brilliant. This is going to do way more damage than the Andrew Tates and all them. They have a lot of ideas. And other than dumb, like, coaching, whatever, like, they have a book or something. But these guys are boots on the ground, giving them jobs, teaching them how to shave, maybe teaching them how to wash their butthole, although they're probably too homophobic to even do that themselves. Oh, this is so much worse than what the internet's going to do. The internet's already getting to them, and this church is offering them the physical space and all of the actual things to let that mentality that they're learning online play out. Ugh. Yet much of the recent flip-flop in religious affiliation is driven by young women leaving. Yeah, duh. Because young women are far more likely than young men to identify as liberal, unless you are getting radicalized into the far right by tradwives, crunchy mom, and all that crap. Please do an inventory on your social media consumption, who you're following. They are reinforcing things so subtly, y'all. I've fallen for some of it. And then I was like, whoa, where's this going? Oh, God. And the next thing I know, I'm like, oh, my God. And I don't really follow much of that stuff. But every once in a while, I'm like, Everything seems to lead to the alt-right at this point. And women don't like it because it seems that their messaging blames the woes of men on the rights and advances of women. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that's in line with Scott Galloway and all them. That approach, frankly, is going to be less and less appealing to young women because we've raised a generation of young women who are more self-confident, who have seen a world that is very different than that was available to their mothers and grandmothers. And we're not going back. And you force us to go back, we're going to resort to poisoning y'all again, or worse, because that's what our grandmas were doing. Poison. They're real good at that. Life Tabernacle says its mission to help boys become better men is meant to serve. See, this is how women might fall for this crap. It's helping boys become better men. It's meant to serve women. See, it's helping you bitches too, because we know y'all are complaining about a lack of viable suitor. She adds that many girls and young women crave a defined role as well. But you know what that is about? Women who want a more defined, who want to lean into their feminine and all that stuff. They know that we're tired of doing everything. Because our grandmas and stuff, even though they couldn't leave, they were hostages. Hostages. At least there was a division of labor, where now women are just doing everything. Everything. So yeah, this is why it might appeal to some women, is because we're like, wait a second, I didn't sign up to work 40 hours a week and do all this. Or literally not. This is what kills me about stay-at-home mom, is that you better, that it is not going to work out well unless you have a progressive man on some level, because you never get a day off. You don't get an hour off. These men, 9 to 5, stay-at-home moms never get a moment off. Never. No vacation, no benefits, no retirement, no social security, nothing, and no time off. How is that letting you stay home? That's what I'm saying. Make them pay you. Make them put money in your bank account. Because I don't think it's bad to stay home with the kids. Okay, I'm very clear about that. But these men are tricking women into doing it. To complement lessons on landscaping and car mechanics for the boys, the church teaches girls lessons in etiquette. Oh, God. homemaking and culminating in an annual tea party. Because that's all you bitches do. Birthing the entire world is definitely not a job. Breastfeeding it, raising it. Like, oh my God. This is so insulting. The church leaders are explicit about what they expect from their young male congregants to graduate high school, either go to college or find a job, buy a house, find a way from have kids that you can be. It's a straightforward message, Tony says. He sees himself, here we go, as a father figure to these young men. So men, if you're watching this is the daddy that's stepping in because you're not. Get into your community and help men and boys. Please. These guys are a dime a dozen. There's not many of y'all. You want a sense of purpose? It's to give other options. A teacher will teach you, but a daddy will correct you until you get what I'm instilling in you. That's what our young men crave. He also provides dating advice. Great. As if all this isn't dating advice for alt-right men. His list of qualities to look for in a woman includes faithfulness to church, modesty, loyalty, and ability to cook a meal. Definitely don't want any confident bitches because they leave you. Don't want any little sluts. Because you're going to cheat anyway and go like pay somebody to, whatever. Loyalty, no matter what, you can beat you, cheat, whatever. She won't leave you. And she goes to church and cook. So this guy, Dante, 21, credits the church for teaching him how to be a man. So then he found a job. They're just, this is brilliant, y'all. And look, if these people are out there, they've got the boys and young men recruiting. He's been taking more of his friends to church. He's like, hey, you can get a job. They'll give you jobs. And you get to oppress women forever. Look what his mom says. His 40-year-old mom says that she was worried about her children, particularly her 4 sons, growing up without a dad. Wow, it seems as if the whole problem stems from dad leaving. Boys, and these boys are just watching mom do everything, so then they want a wife who's going to do all that too. Boys want to look to their dad, unless she is intentionally Leslie Witherspoon, if you're not following her, she's one of my mutuals. She's was on live with me on Patreon. All of those interviews are on Patreon. She's also a single mom of 2 boys, and she has taught me so much about how you unindoctrinate these men and teach them how to not be this. Boys want to look to their dad for direction. She now praises this pastor, Tony, for filling that role. See what I mean, y'all? He taught them how to be a man, to get a job, be respectful, not drink or smoke, to get up in the morning even if they're worn out and go to church. Okay, but Dante's mom, my question for you is, you're really struggling with your 4 sons. And I know it must be hard, but did you teach your daughter to be respectful, not drink or smoke, to get up every morning and go to work? Like, I'm telling you, I can't imagine how hard it is to not save these boys. But what ends up happening is a lot of women, whether it's their mom, their girlfriend, I enabled men, okay? I know because I've done this. I dated a hobo. I paid for everything, y'all. Enabling men, you think you're helping, you're actually hurting them. You're causing so much harm. Not only hurting them, you're hurting all the women that are going to cross their path. Here's another guy, Keenan Holloway, 23. Society's teaching men that masculinity is toxic. When you come here, you learn that your masculinity is not toxic. See, they're falling for it. This is the most telling paragraph right here, y'all. So Keenan, who's 20, he has met many of his friends and his girlfriend who at the church, who he hopes to marry. He works as an advisor at a community college and acknowledges that both he and his future wife might need to work to get by. So they want a traditional woman with defined gender roles, but the bitch has got to go work outside the home too and then come do the second shift. But he says that he's okay as long as everyone knows their role, with him providing and protecting. But she's providing! Providing and protecting, his wife nurturing, teaching, and their future kids following and obeying. Oh God, y'all. The fact that he said all this, but acknowledges that she's probably got to work too outside the home. They want their grandpa's lives, but with the money of a modern woman. God, they're so delusional. Anyway, being a man, he goes on, it gets worse. Being a man is knowing your place in society, your place in the world. See what I mean? They're so, like, they hate each other. They hate themselves. This, like, pecking order, God, they oh my God, it's like to be able to be the king of their castle, they accept that they will be at the very bottom as long as they're over us and the kids. You're the head in the family, the leader on the job. That's a man's role, and that should be a man's nature. What do you even mean? Because that's not how men are. God, whatever. I'm so tired of this. Stay away from the church for dating men. Watch out if you have kids and they are showing an interest in church. They are being red-pilled. They're being red-pilled. If all of a sudden they have an interest in God, they're being red-pilled. Okay? Anyway, let me know what y'all think. I would love to hear your stories, thoughts, feedback, whatever. And again, please follow my Patreon if you can afford it. I have, on the 10th, I'm having one of my mutuals. Shayna, she is also a journalist. She's a travel journalist. And her and I are going to talk about how we broke into the business. And also she is also an immigrant. She's on a digital nomad visa. So we might answer questions around that. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be on the 10th. And then also she's here on YouTube. I will tag her. She is awesome. She's so funny too. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff. Decentering men, all kinds of stuff. But if you want to ask us questions about that, this would be a great, because we have very different experiences, but they kind of complement each other when it comes to immigrating and breaking into writing. So anyway, let me know what y'all think, and let me know if you heard the comments. Going back to Florida with weird stuff, big old things driving, lots of weird advertisements. You're nuts. And of course, a Waffle House. Waffle House. Going to Florida again for lots of really weird Christian stuff and baby alligators, okay. And a Bigfoot at a gas station. Oh, yeah. A dude jerked off in the bathroom next to Anthony, and they sell weird stuff like propaganda and a skull with a slash hat and big drinks bigger than my head. It's Florida, weird Florida. Oh God, we didn't on a thing with this CSI boat thing. You looking for, I don't know, maybe alligators? We didn't see any because there were just none, but we saw this weird crab. What the hell? Florida is so weird. There's not even kidding. Florida. And of course, I got the big adult stores and also a lot of Jesus. Jesus. Have you made your decision yet? And injury attorneys sue people, because why not? Then also get some fireworks from Big Daddy and go to Cafe Risque. Make sure you repent afterwards, because you're going to hell. Look, as this is where you're going if you don't have Jesus. Yeah, you're gonna be in that TV show like this. What the hell? Florida's so weird. You know what else? This could be you. Or this, you're in the Walking Dead. Or, you know what? Might as well go into the military. So, you're Jesus, military Jesus. This is how much Jesus loves you. He loves you. Look at this, you know what? All you gotta do is contact IWillBeBackSoon.org. Please follow my Patreon if you want to follow me and Anthony to Florida and other places this summer. Et voilà.